ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for reciting the Mangalacharan in such a beautiful way. So Hare Krishna everybody, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to okay, back to Muga Prabhu. That's fine, Prabhuji, no worries. Thank you for letting us know. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to do service Srimad Bhagavatam today. I start my discussion along with all of you, seeking the blessings of my Guru. Without his mercy, I wouldn't have been able to do this service. I also seek the blessings of Radharani and Krishna, so that I can by their mercies, I can repeat whatever I have heard or I have read from my seniors, from my guru, from other devotees and teachers. And if I do make any mistakes, please do forgive me and please do correct me. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Verse 13 today. So let me read the Sanskrit first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Puramaya Proktam Acharya Napye Padme Nishanaya Mamadi Sarge Jnanam Paraman Mahima Vapasam Yatsurayo Bhagavatam Vadanti. Apologies for my really bad pronunciation of Sanskrit. Translation. O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so I'll read this again. O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The explanation of the Supreme Self as given to Brahma and already explained in the second canto of this great literature is further clarified herein. The Lord said that the concise form of Srimad Bhagavatam, as explained to Brahma, was meant to elucidate his personality. The impersonal explanation of those 4 verses in the second canto is nullified herewith. Sridhar Swami also explains in this connection that the same concise form of the Bhagavatam concerned the pastimes of Lord Krishna and was never meant for impersonal indulgence. Hare Krishna. So in this verse, we are told again. So Krishna, Lord Krishna, is speaking to Uddhava. We see that in the verse yesterday, Lord Krishna told Uddhava that that Uddhava is a great soul, and he had desired in his last life, because Uddhava is a plenary portion of one of the Vasus, and he was told that you had desired to become a personal associate of me, and because you have desired, you have now received this personal association, and you've come as Uddhava. And in the verse in our session last week, we touched upon how remembering Krishna and desire to be in Krishna's company or serving Krishna or loving Krishna can happen in 2 ways. One is consciously, so through trying to remember Krishna consciously. Even if we forget, we try to remember Krishna because we've been told about that, and we understand, we've got the knowledge that Krishna is the supreme, and we must remember Krishna at all times. So that is how we try to remember Krishna consciously. However, and there is that desire to remember Krishna consciously. However, there is the other way of desiring Krishna, which happens spontaneously. And that is where, we understand that the higher the bhakti, the more advanced one is in bhakti, the remembrance of Krishna, the desire to be with Krishna becomes more and more and more spontaneous. And we also saw in the Bhagavad Gita how Krishna directly reciprocates, as we have touched upon this verse quite a few times in the last few days, where Krishna says that as you respond to me, I respond back to you. Yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami aham. So we have heard all of that in the last few verses, and how, because Uddhava, being a true devotee, his remembrance of Krishna was so spontaneous and so continuous, that Krishna reciprocated in that way, and he was able to be born as Uddhava and be a personal assistant, or be in personal association of Krishna. Now, to remember this more, Krishna, just a quick reference to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verses 6 and 7, where Krishna tells Arjuna, now that is Bhakti Yoga. Now, all of this that we are doing to remember Krishna. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam to remember Krishna, because our desire to know Krishna is there. And so had we not desired to read Srimad Bhagavatam, we wouldn't have been able to, Krishna wouldn't have fulfilled our desire. And so in Bhakti Yoga, Krishna tells Arjuna in verses 6 and 7 that for one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So Krishna says that someone who meditates on me, someone whose mind is fixed on me, for him, he doesn't have to take birth in this material world anymore. And that is exactly what Krishna tells Uddhava in the last verse. Krishna tells Uddhava that, this is your last birth. You don't have to be born again over here. After this birth, when you leave your material body, you will go back to Vaikuntha Loka. Which brings us to our verse today. And we see that, just trying to look into. Now, I'm not touching upon who a Vasu is because I think Mataji touched upon that yesterday. But we understand the Vasus, they're a group of 8 deities associated with fire and light and elements of nature. And they are children of Kashyap Muni and Aditi. So I'm not touching on that because that has been touched upon before. So now that brings us to our verse today, where Krishna tells Uddhava the knowledge that he gave to Lord Brahma in the lotus millennium. So he says, he mentions the word lotus millennium in the days of yore, and he says at the beginning of creation. And he reminds us once again in this verse that that knowledge, the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, was first given to Lord Brahma. And Prabhupada in the purport mentions how very personal the Lord is and how many people actually mistakenly or, they understand this, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and the whole form of the Lord to be impersonal. And there is that argument about, why this is not impersonal and how the Lord is very, very personal. And Prabhupada expands on that in the purport. So our verse today primarily talks about a reminder into how the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam was given. When was this knowledge given to Lord Brahma? And why this knowledge should be accepted as being given by the very, very personal Lord Krishna, and why it should never be taken as being given by an impersonal Lord. So we see that so Krishna tells about himself to Lord Brahma. Now, when he talks to him, Lord Brahma, he talks about his personal form. He talks about his pastimes, the eternal pastimes. And we see that, Krishna mentions the word lotus millennium, and we'll come to that in a minute. But the very fact that he is mentioning a time, that means that there has been many a times when the same Bhagavatam has been told by Krishna. And we have been told earlier that Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. So Krishna reminds Uddhava that this Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam we have now, this version of the Bhagavatam was mentioned to Lord Brahma at the first day, the very first time that he spoke to Lord Brahma. Which also means that, this Srimad Bhagavatam has been spoken to previous Lord Brahmas many a times since time immemorial, because, Krishna has been creating and maintaining and annihilating the material universes since eternity. And so the first thing, before we even come to the knowledge that was given to Lord Brahma, we are reminded here once again of the transmission of knowledge through sound. So Vedic knowledge was typically, it had oral tradition. So Lord Krishna gave it to Lord Brahma, and then Lord Brahma gave it to Narad Muni, who gave it to Vyasadeva. And then we see that has come down to us through disciplic succession. And Prabhupada is very, very, very strict in mentioning this over and over again, how important this parampara or disciplic succession is. And we understand this Vedic knowledge comes to us in two ways. Vedic knowledge can come to one of the disciplic successions is, or rather, one of the ways in which Vedic knowledge can come, from generation to generation is through the seminal line, or from, say, father to son to grandchildren, so through parents to children. And in the earlier days, we see how that knowledge used to come from fathers to children. General people used to learn from their parents about the Vedic knowledge. Kings, great kings, they had they were educated in Vedic knowledge, and they passed it on to their children. And that is how we've had great kings who are not just kings, who are not just Kshatriyas, but they were equally conversant with the Vedic knowledge and knew how to rule their kingdom based on the Vedic injunctions. So that was the seminal lines, where the knowledge came from generation to generation. Now that line is very, very, very weak nowadays. We don't see much of that nowadays. But the way it is still going quite strong is the other way of transmission of Vedic knowledge, and that is through the Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession. And that is how we see, we get our knowledge we learn from our guru, and then it comes down to us, and then, it goes on, it passes on to others. And that is still how it is going on very strongly now. So we are reminded of this a bit briefly over here. And we are reminded of this again when the Lord says that, when the Lord reminds to Uddhava that I gave this to Brahma, meaning that the Lord was the first guru who gave the knowledge to Lord Brahma, again, who was a guru and gave that knowledge to his son, which again started both the seminal line and the disciplic succession line to Narad Muni, who was his son as well as his disciple. And then Narad Muni gave that to Vyasdeva, who was his disciple. Now, all of a sudden, all of this, they somewhere they just got lost. This seminal line, or the parampara of, people just automatically learning this knowledge from their fathers or forefathers, that just somehow broke, that chain somehow broke. And we are told that as we get into Kali Yuga, the more and more time passes, the more the people are reluctant to accept this knowledge. And so it has to be reminded to us more and more. We are told that and Shastras tell us, Acharyas teach us, and Gurus teach us that the primary reason is always the same reason we all defected from the spiritual world. We all belong to the spiritual world. However, because of our envious nature towards the Lord, because of our false ego and of us wanting to be the master, the proprietor, the controller, and the enjoyer, and having that false ego that I should be the one who is in charge, not Lord Krishna. That is the reason we all defected from the spiritual world in the first case. And that false ego, with the time, with the repeated births, unless and until we take up bhakti, that false ego increases and increases and increases. And sometimes we see that these false ego, it is very, very apparent, but sometimes it's very, very subtle. And in Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas, he mentions about 8 kind of primary egos, which people should be very, very careful of when reading Shastras. especially the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And we, because we are reading this and because we are being reminded of how important it is to remember the exact knowledge that the Lord gave Lord Brahma, and how we should, keep away from all our false egos before we actually delve into that knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reminded of how Tulsidas mentioned this in Ramcharitmanas, and Tulsidas says that there are 8 types of 8 different pride that can arise in a person. The first one is that of dhan. Dhan is wealth, pride of wealth. Number 2 is that of rupa, rup or beauty. Number 3 is that of bal. Bal means strength, the pride of strength. I am stronger than everybody else. I can do anything. Number 4, there's the pride or the false ego of kul or varna, or, family status, or I've been born, my birth has taken place in a really, really prestigious family. So kul or varna. Number 5, there's the pride of vidya or pride of knowledge. And, knowledge can be just material knowledge, or knowledge can also be Vedic knowledge. Someone can be very, very proud of knowing all the Vedas, but that is being detached from bhakti. And knowledge of just the Vedas, that gets you nowhere. And then what develops is that pride, which then becomes an anartha, which becomes offensive to bhakti. Number 6 is that false ego or pride of pad and pratishtha, which means the false ego of status or achievements, that what I have achieved. Number 7 is the pride of tyag or renunciation, that, I am a great devotee. I have given up so much just to be able to practice bhakti. So there is pride, very, very subtle pride, but there is that false ego and pride in oneself. And they may not be in the, people may not be able to see that from the outside, but that may remain in the subconscious mind. There is that subtle pride. And the last is that of the false ego or pride of dharma, that, or religiosity, or religion, or my duty. So dharma can be interpreted in many ways. Can be interpreted as in religion or religiosity, or one doing one's own duty. And one might say, my dharma is the best. What I'm doing is the best. My religion is the best, or the way I am doing my duty is perfect, and no one can be, there's nothing that one can actually point their fingers against me or towards me, because I am doing it in a really nice way. And so we see these types of false egos. Some are very, very apparent, like people can be, proud of their wealth or their beauty or their status, etc. But some are very, very subtle, that, they are proud of their renunciation, proud of their service towards the Lord, proud of their bhakti, proud of their tyag. So these are all the things that restricts us from understanding the Srimad Bhagavatam properly. So when Lord Krishna gave all this knowledge to Lord Brahma, as we are reminded in this verse, it is understood that Lord Brahma was completely devoid of all kinds of false pride and ego. And that is the reason he was eligible to receive the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Krishna. And it's interesting over here that Krishna is mentioning this to Uddhava, because both Lord Brahma and Uddhava had at least once in their lifetime, become temporarily illusioned and come under false pride. but they had recovered, being true devotees. They had recovered from that and prayed to the Lord for forgiveness almost immediately. However, they did come under that illusion. We see how Lord Brahma, he was, he kidnapped all those cowherd boys and the calves just to test Krishna. And we see Uddhava, he was proud of his knowledge. He was a pure devotee. And yet he had that subtlety, that he had that pride in his subconscious mind, that how would the simple-minded Vrajavasis have more bhakti than me? They don't even, they're not even learned. I have bhakti, and on top of that, I am a disciple of Brihaspati. So we see that it's interesting to note that Krishna is giving this knowledge to Uddhava, and we understand when we go to the 11th canto, we see how Krishna actually gives the knowledge to Uddhava, which is captured in the Uddhav Gita. And Krishna mentions Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma was devoid of all such pride when this knowledge was given. And Uddhava is now spoken and now being given this knowledge because Uddhava is devoid of any kind of pride which he might have had before. That little bit of very, very subtle ego or pride or false ego that he had within him, that has all been completely demolished after his visit to Vrindavan and seeing the Vrajavasis. And that is the first thing we are reminded over here in this verse, that when we receive this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to receive it with humility, because we have to cry out to the Lord saying that we don't have anything. You are being so merciful that you are allowing me to receive this information of Srimad Bhagavatam from you. And that is the mood in which we need to delve into any reading and any hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we see that, the next thing that is mentioned in the verse is that Uddhav gives this, the Lord tells Uddhava that this knowledge was given to Lord Brahma in the lotus millennium. Now, what do we really mean by the lotus millennium? Now, lotus millennium in Sanskrit, lotus is Padma, and millennium, it's the kalpa. So translated to Sanskrit, the lotus millennium is the Padma Kalpa. Now, we understand that even in this material universe, there are time can really be understood in 3 different ways. And we were discussing about that, I think, the other day. So there is the human time. Now, time in the spiritual world is eternity. There is no start and no end to time over there. But in the material world, there is a beginning and there is an end. Now we have the human way of calculating time. And when we go to the next level is when we go to the heavenly planets, the Svarga Loka. We understand that over there, 1 human year is 1 day in Sargaloka, or 1 celestial years. And 1,000 of these celestial years make up a day of Lord Brahma. Now, we are also said that the other way we can look into Lord Brahma's 1 day is to know that in 1 day of Lord Brahma, there are, sorry, it's not 1,000 celestial years. It's 1, sorry, that was wrong information. So just clear, the information is that, 1 year of 1 human year is 1 celestial day. So let's keep to that. So that's 2 ways of looking at time. The third way of looking at time is Lord Brahma's time, the time in Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. And we are told that 1,000 Chaturyugas, 1,000 Chaturyugas make up 1 day of Lord Brahma. Now, what are the Chatur-yugas? We know the 4 yugas to be Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. With Kali Yuga being 432,000 years, Dwapar Yuga being ×2 of that, Treta Yuga ×3 of that, Satya Yuga ×4 of that. So all of these 4 yugas make one Chatur Yuga, so many years. And then all of these years taken together, times it by 1,000, that number of years is 1 day of Lord Brahma. And that, calculated in human years, that goes up to trillions and trillions of years. So that is 1 day of Lord Brahma. And 1 day of Lord Brahma is called a kalpa. Now, the Lord tells Lord Brahma, and we are told in Canto 2, if you remember in Canto 2, Chapter 9, all the different kalpas are given, the names of all the different kalpas are given. And we understand that just like in the week, we have, it's Sunday, each day of there are 7 days of the week. And we name them as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So there are 7 days. And after the Saturday, it again is a Sunday. So we repeat the names of the days. Similarly, each of these days of Lord Brahma for a whole month is given a name. So each of these kalpas, so each day of Lord Brahma is called a kalpa. And each of these kalpas are given a name for a whole month. So whereas in the human years, in the human time, we give a name to each day for a week. We don't do it for a whole month. We do it for a week, and then we repeat the names. But when it goes to Lord Brahma's time, or Lord Brahma's planet, he gets a name for each of his days, not just for a week, but for a whole month. And the first day of the month is called a Padma, or it's called the Padma Kalpa. Kalpa is 1 day of Lord Brahma. So the first day is called Padma Kalpa. Similarly, from day 2 up until, the day 30, there are different names of the kalpas. And then again, when the next month starts, again, it starts with another Padma Kalpa. I hope that makes sense. If it's confusing, please let me know. So that is so we understand. So we are being told over here that the knowledge was given to Lord Brahma in the Padma Kalpa. Now, one thing we have to remember is that Lord Brahma lives, his tenure is 100 years. 1 day is called a kalpa. So there are many, many days which makes up that whole year of Lord Brahma. And so we understand that we are told by the Shastra that the knowledge given to Lord Brahma is only given to Lord Brahma in the very, very first Padma Kalpa. So the Padma Kalpas are repeated each month. It comes each month up until the very last month of the 100 years of Lord Brahma. They are repeated, just like Sundays are repeated each week. However, the knowledge that the Lord gives to Lord Brahma is at the very, 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 very first Padma Kalpa. And this is why we are told that, Krishna says to Uddhava that I gave this knowledge right at the beginning of creation, to the very first Padma Kalpa. And he mentions creation over here, which brings us to the next point. Now this verse is very, very, it's a short verse, but there are so many points in this. So after the Padma Kalpa, Krishna jumps onto creation and he relates all of that. So what he's trying to tell us is that, what is the creation? He has explained to us about creation, in the second canto. It's going to be, it is repeated, it's mentioned briefly in quite a few cantos and spread across Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, we are told that right at the beginning, Krishna himself, he doesn't really create directly. Krishna is not involved in direct creations. So what does he do? He expands, and through his expansions, he first expands as Balarama, and then we come down right to Mahavishnu. So Krishna, as his expansions in the three Purusha avatars, which we learned about in Canto 2, that is how Krishna takes charge of creation, maintenance, annihilation, or, creation, or rather, right at the beginning. So what does Krishna do as Mahavishnu, the first Purusha avatar? So we are not going into details about the other expansions in between or how Mahavishnu came about, because we've touched upon them in Canto 2. But we see that Mahavishnu, who is also known as Karnadaksha Vishnu, he exhales. And when he exhales, innumerous number of universes come out from every pore of his body. And that is all the universes. Some are small, some are massive. And, ours, with the 14 planetary systems, ours is the smallest, or one of the smallest, if not the smallest universe. And so we see that is how Mahavishnu, he creates the universes and all the other raw material, all the other materials that are required for creation. So they come out, the Panchabhutas and all the other raw materials, they come out. And then Mahavishnu further expands as Garbhadaksha Vishnu, and he enters into every single of those universes, and he fills in the universe, fills half of the universe with his perspiration, and then he lies down in it. And then from his navel, a stem comes out, and right at the top of that stem is a lotus flower. And on that lotus flower is Lord Brahma. There's the creation of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma comes out. And so we have said that, and this is the secondary creation. So what is the first creation? The first creation is Mahavishnu exhaling. And through his, as he exhales, these universes come out, innumerable number of universes come out. And that first level of creation is called a Mahakalpa. That's called a Mahakalpa, where all the universes come out and all the raw materials come out, when we've heard about Mahatattva and how everything is, the pradhan is agitated, all the raw materials form, and they come out. And then what is the second creation? The secondary creation, that is when Garbhadaksha Vishnu, he lies down, and from his navel there's the stem, and there's the creation of Lord Brahma. This is the second level of creation, or secondary creation, and this is called Vikalpa. The first creation is called Mahakalpa. The secondary creation is called Vikalpa, where Lord Brahma is created. And now we are told about the creation, which is the third level of creation. So the second level of creation, where Vikalpa, where all Brahma is created and all the raw materials are dispersed all around, which were created before in the first level of creation. They are kind of dispersed all around in the universe. So then it is Lord Brahma who is then created And Lord Brahma, he, as we know, he was very confused when he didn't know what was happening. And then he heard two sounds, ta and pa, which means austerity. So he performed austerities for 1,000 celestial years. And then the Lord gave him darshan, the Lord came in front of him, and then the Lord gave him the skills. And first the Lord gave him the knowledge, and then the skills to be able to do the third level of creation. And that third level of creation is what is being mentioned over here in the verse again. So it is automatically understood that Uddhava already knew about the first two levels of creation. And so the Lord is reminding him of this third level of creation, which it was, the knowledge given to Lord Brahma, where Lord Brahma utilizes all the raw materials that are provided to him by the Lord, and makes use of the skills and the knowledge given by the Lord to him, and creates all the material bodies, the material elements, and the objects. So that is the third level of creation. And we understand that, the Lord, as we also read in the second canto, the Lord gave the knowledge of the Chatushlokis, which we see in Canto 2, chapter 9, from verses 33 to 36, where the Lord tells Lord Brahma in the 4 shlokas, in the first shloka, that, I was there, everything is me. Who am I? Lord tells who he is, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was there before creation, and he is going to be there even after annihilation. The second Chatushloki talks about the material energy and Maya, and how Maya is, dictates the lives of the jivas, who come under the control of Maya if they don't take the shelter of bhakti. The third verse talks about sadhana, and the fourth verse talks about the bhakta, the devotee, who really can, through bhakti, go back to Godhead. And Lord Brahma also tells, Lord Krishna, he gives this darshan to Lord Brahma, and he also shows the Vaikuntha Loka to Lord Brahma. And he tells Brahma, that tapa that you heard, that was none other than me. That was me telling you to do austerity, to purify yourself more, to be able to become eligible to receive the knowledge from me. And this is where we come to the last point of the verse, where Prabhupada further explains, points out that many people, they disregard this majestic, or this very, very transcendental knowledge from the absolute truth, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be impersonal, and they interpret the Chatushlokis as very impersonal knowledge, and they think that the Lord is impersonal. And that is where Prabhupada says that even Sridhar Swami, who's the first commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam, he commented how it is a grave, grave offense to think that the Lord is impersonal. The Lord, when Lord Brahma saw the Lord Brahma wrote in Brahma Samhita, he described the Lord as, carrying a flute with a peacock, beautiful peacock feather, with a beautiful smile, with a beautiful, monsoon clouds like skin color. He described the Vaikuntha Loka. So how is it possible to even think that the Lord is impersonal, and then that the Lord does not have a personal form? And why should we even question that? Why should we even question what the Lord is saying? Because it is from the Lord, who is the absolute truth. He is devoid of the faults of a jiva. And the jiva, we know we have, amongst many, many anarthas, the four key faults that we have is our propensity to cheat, our propensity to, our inability to actually see everything, see the truth. Our senses are imperfect. Then we have we are covered with illusion. We cannot see truth from illusion so many times. We are covered with illusion, and we have the propensity to commit mistakes. So these are the four grave things which make us very, very, very imperfect. So when people are saying that this is an impersonal God, and when the Lord himself, who does not have any propensity to commit mistake, to cheat, or to be covered with illusion, or who does not have any limited senses, we cannot see what is at the back of our head. Because our senses are, we can't see that, but the Lord is not limited. So when the Lord, who is the absolute truth, is telling us that he is personal, then why should we not take that as the absolute, as the Vedic truth, and as the absolute truth? So it is a great offense, and Prabhupada is scathing in his criticism, and he mentions that so many times throughout Bhagavatam, that it is wrong to think that Bhagavatam, that the Lord is impersonal, and should not be thought about in that way. So we might, so Prabhupada over here in this text again, by mentioning creation, by mentioning that this knowledge was given from a person, from the person, supreme person, to Lord Brahma, and how and when was it given? In the very first Padma Kalpa, by being so precise about everything, about the time, about the person, and about the creation. Prabhupada says in the Purport that it is this text once again exposes the falseness or the hollowness of the impersonal interpretation of the Chatushlokis. So once again, so but sometimes, and Prabhupada is very, very clear in his purport on that. And so sometimes people might think that, why is it that Prabhupada stresses on impersonalism so much? And that is because we are told, that's because what Prabhupada says, the other gurus says, the acharyas tell us as well, that is because the whole world, day by day, is embroidered in impersonal culture. More and more and more. We have top scholars, we have top gurus who are either totally atheistic and they don't believe in God. They just say, oh, we believe in faith. If you do good, good will happen to you. If you do bad, bad will happen to you. But who is making that decision? Who is good and who is bad? How do you gauge that? And to gauge that, we have to go back to the Shastras. And where did the Vedas come from? They came from the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it came from the Supreme Person. So the whole point is that it cannot be impersonal. But we have, so probably people talking about and giving so many, so many rationales around impersonalistic behavior and impersonalistic theories. And the impersonalists, Prabhupada said, they are very, very learned. They are so learned, they will confuse you with their rationale. So be very careful, stay away from them. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was really, really strict. He warned the people of Kali Yuga, stay away from such people. And we see in Mahaprabhu's, many of his pastimes, how he turned impersonalists into very great devotees, through by explaining things to them. So Prabhupada's goal, like a true devotee, is to make people understand that the Lord, that Krishna, is very, very, very personal. And, just like any simple organization needs a manager to be managed well, this entire creation, which works so precisely, every single thing works like, so properly. It has to be managed by that supreme manager. And it's impossible just for the world to, function by itself. And that is what Prabhupada wanted to mention over here once again. So Krishna can be realized in the impersonal form. Yes, that is one way of realizing Krishna, the Brahman form of Krishna, the effulgence form of Krishna, where we see, there are many religions of the world who believe in that, but that is not the ultimate realization. Okay, liberation is not just merging into the body of Krishna, merging into that effulgence. Devotees don't even think about liberation because that comes as a byproduct of serving Krishna, of loving Krishna. Because to devotees, it is the happiness comes from providing happiness to Krishna. So it's even as in the material world. When we love somebody, we are the happiest when we see the person we love being happy. So similarly, when we are able to love Krishna truly without any motivation, without unconditional love, ahaituki apratihata, continuously, unconditionally, when we'll be able to love Krishna unconditionally, we won't even imagine that Krishna is just that effulgence. We want to relate to Krishna person to person. Unique, we all have that unique relationship with Krishna. And our happiness lies in glorifying the Lord. And what is that glorification? That glorification is nothing but what is given to us by Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam. And so it's reading the Bhagavatam, hearing the Bhagavatam, that gives us, just as it gives happiness to us, it provides happiness to Krishna as well. I mean, we are, if we see, we are told that, the whole world is, because it's going away from this culture of, believing in God. It's become almost fashionable to make fun of faith, to make fun of God. And because of that, there is so much despondency in this world, so much distress in this world, so much, people are going into depression. And we see, well, why does that happen? We see that happening even all those years ago, for almost more than 5,000 years ago. We see the same thing happening to Vyasadeva. He was depressed. He was overcome with depression and despondency. And that is when Narad Muni came and told him, do you know why you're feeling in this way? Because you're not feeling happy. And you know what will make you happy? By glorifying the Lord more. And so when Vyasadeva did that, all his despondency went away. He was the happiness. And we see how that really makes everything make sense to all the things that's happening. The more we run away from the Lord, the more we are full and more we are covered with this sense of despondency, sense of sadness. The more we try to reach that personal Lord and try to connect with that Lord, the more we are happy. And that happiness comes from within. We don't need external things to make us happy because that happiness comes from within. And that is the reason when we see true devotees of the Lord, we see that beautiful smile on their faces. Come rain, come shine, they are always smiling. And that is because their happiness comes from within, because they are able to truly love Krishna. And when Krishna is happy, automatically us being the part and parcel of Krishna, we are automatically happy. And how do we connect to Krishna in this Kali Yuga? Through his name. As Chaitanya, we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well, so many times it's repeated, but directly told again by in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar, Nam Hoite Hoy Sharba Jagat Nistar. in this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord is like the Mahamantra is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And simply by chanting his holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. And anyone who does this is certainly delivered. And so, as we come to a close to our session today, we pray to Lord Krishna to give us the intelligence to be able to understand his personal form and practice bhakti to be able to connect with him. Because the whole purpose of Bhagavatam is, and the whole purpose of Krishna giving the Uddhav Gita, giving this knowledge to Uddhava, is to believe in him, is to have faith in him, and ultimately be able to love him and to believe and, accept hook, line, and sinker, to accept that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Etecham Sakala Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, what Krishna says in Canto 1, what we learn rather in Canto 1, what Sukdev Goswami says, and that Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Lord, of Godhead. And as Lord Brahma says, he is Sarva Karana Karanam, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam, Brahma Samhita 5. That Krishna is the cause of all causes. So when we hear, this is the knowledge that Krishna is giving to Uddhava again, that Krishna, that right at the beginning of creation, I said the same thing to Lord Brahma, and I'm giving the same knowledge to you again. Krishna, the very, very personal, supreme personality of Godhead. So with that, I come to the end of our discussion today. So apologies, I've gone overboard again. If I've made any mistake, please do correct me. Yes, Gayatri Mataji, thank you so much for being, So if there are any corrections, any comments, reflections, questions, please correct me. I'm not sure. I think Bhaktamuga Prabhu, he was having problems with his internet before. Yes, Eastern Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glory to Sri Prabhupada. I appreciate your time for today, and I really enjoyed the class. At least today we had a very wonderful session. I could say we all learned something, and all we could try to do is to devoid ourselves from the false ego and pride that we have in this material consciousness, and try as much as possible and give up on the answers that are there to be given up. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, there is no other way other than chanting the holy names of the Lord, so that we can be able to purify ourselves as much as we could and be able to look to find our own way back home, back to Godhead. And yeah, we should also learn to understand that Krishna is personal, not impersonal, as most people will speculate without the pure knowledge about God. I open it up to any person who has a question, a comment, or a realization. For me, that's what I realized today. And yeah, I give it up to anybody who will. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
See iPhone. Is that Prabhuji or Mataji? I don't know. It says that I wanted to ask you, Krishna is the cause of all causes. Does that mean, Chandi Mataji, yes, Hare Krishna Mataji, does that mean in a way our karma is pre-written and sanctioned by him in advance? Okay, Mataji, karma is a, again, karma. Krishna is the cause of all causes means that everything, the entire start of everything is from him. So he creates the spiritual and the material world, all raw materials from everything, whether it's the objects, whether it's the jivas, everything comes from him. Even the interactions that people have amongst themselves, it all comes from Krishna creating these emotions. So he is the cause of all causes, anything and everything, all actions, all happenings, all happens because their start is in Krishna. However, what you've mentioned is karma, which is, or it's slightly, it's related, but it's also slightly different because karma is also a lot dependent on a jiva's own personal free will. Because first of all, we defected, the souls, the jivas who defected from the spiritual world, they came into the material world because they wanted to rule by themselves. However, because we are all part and parcel of Krishna, like Krishna, and with as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talked about the Achinta Veda, Ved Tattva, we are similar and different to Krishna. Quality-wise, like one drop of water in the ocean, we are the same. We are as Satchidananda, our souls are as Satchidananda as Krishna. But quantity-wise, there is no comparison. Krishna is supreme. Now, because we are all Satchidananda, because we come from Krishna and have the same quality as Krishna, just as Krishna has free will, which is, endless free will, we have also been given a little bit of free will by Krishna. Because we are part, we have the same quality of Krishna. In a minute way, quantity-wise a little bit, but quality-wise the same. So we have that free will. Now, with that free will, if we practice bhakti, we increase on our good. Now, again, we talk about our karma, vikarma, or karma. We can just do karma, which is just doing work, following the Vedic injunctions. And, if we do good work, we get good, we accrue good karma, or good karmic balance. If we do bad work, we accrue bad bad karma. But if we dedicate all our work to the lotus feet of Krishna, and we do not want anything, or we do not expect anything in return, we just dedicate. We don't, as Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, don't worry about the results. Leave the results in my hand. If we do that, then we don't accrue karma at all. That is our karma. We don't accrue karma. And then if there is no karmic balance, that is when we become eligible to, go up either the higher planets, or even practice bhakti and go back to Godhead. But with that balance, if we don't do that, we keep on accruing either good karma or bad karma. And that good karma, what we get in return, whether in the same lifetime or in several lifetimes down the line, that depends when that comes. Again, that karma is divided into prarabdha karma and sanchit karma. There is that karma which is locked in the cupboard, which is there, which has not fructified. But there is those karmic reactions which have fructified, and that is the prarabdha karma. Now, which ones have fructified, which are still sanchit and locked, that is again Krishna's decision. So that links to your question to a little bit, because the ultimate sanction of everything is Krishna. He sanctions whatever happens. So although the result, it might be based on our desires or our karma, good or bad, the ultimate sanctioner is still Krishna. And so we might have, someone might be, done lots of charity, and they helped a lot of people. So their good karmic balance is so high that they are supposed to become very, very, very wealthy. Now, whether they become wealthy in their next life, and it becomes a prarabdha karma, or it still it remains locked for a few more lifetimes, again, that is dependent on Krishna. So when it fructifies, when it becomes prarabdha, when it remains sanchit, that again, Krishna is the cause, Krishna is the sanctioner. But the actual karmic balance, that is very much due to our own action, whether we accrue good or bad karma. Does that make sense, Mataji?
Yes, thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
We will.
Any other question? No? Eastern Prabhu, shall we close the session in that case?
I don't think there are any other questions. Yeah, we could close the session today. I would like to humbly request the assembled devotees to unmute and chant around the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the glorification of Her Grace Panchali Kar Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram,
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Ram,
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Jai,
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki,
Jai.
Yes.
Jai. Hare
Her
Krishna.
Grace Panchali Kar Mataji ki,
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yes, Lord.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.